Okay, hello and welcome, guys, to another episode of the InstaHi Roundtable. And today is a very, very special episode. And our agenda for today is mastering employer narratives to magnetize elite talent. Today, we are thrilled to host two mavericks of the industry. Joining us on this journey today is none other than Aditya Pal Singh. So, Aditya has a career spanning over 23 years in the global talent acquisition arena, is a seasoned veteran who's to be seen at all. And from his tenure at different consulting firms like KPMG to Informatica and Accenture, he's known for crafting talent strategies, which has been very, very successful. Uh, Aditya's passion for building high performing teams is palpable, and his knack of identifying top tier talent is unmatched. So, here we have Aditya. Over to you, Aditya. Brief introduction about yourself, and thank you for joining in.
Thank you very much, Saib. I'm Aditya. I've been, as what Saib said, been around for about 20, 23 years. I've been in the talent acquisition space by choice, recruiter by choice, and worked in product and consulting companies. So I'm looking forward for a very thrilling conversation with my co-panelist Prakash. So, back to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Aditya. We also have the blazing chief manager of talent acquisition at Ujjivan Small Finance Bank, Prakash Mahapatra. Prakash is a seasoned maestro in the art of recruitment, familiar with the balance of talent and opportunity. With a rich tapestry of 8 years in the industry, he has been unparalleled in the ever evolving world of talent acquisition. Thank you, Prakash, for taking your time out and joining us. A brief introduction about yourself.
Thank you, Sarabjit. Thank you, Aditya. So I'm just excited for this show. So I talking about myself, close to 8 years of experience in the talent acquisitions, working in different banks. So I'm very excited to share my experience working in different industries and how we are taking some stands on the part of hiring and recruitment and how different practices we are using for the banks. So I'm looking forward for this show. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Great. So we'll start off. Let's start it off. A few words. So we'll start off with Aditya first. So a few words about your journey from childhood to becoming a talent acquisition expert and maestro. So what do you, Aditya?
Thanks. Yeah. So I belong to an army background, so you can imagine my father got posted every 2 years, so I've studied in, I would have changed about 7 to 8 schools till my 12th, if I'm not wrong. So, but predominantly studied law in a lot of north of India, and so actually it helped me to make friends faster because you get into that phase of losing out on old friends and making new ones, so it becomes easier and you become more adaptable and agile as you grow further up. And then that after that I did my graduation from Chandigarh and then did my masters from Sindhi. And yeah, the golden question my parents always ask is why not army, but I just gave my MBA and I got through at that period of time. I think a lot of time at that period of time it was like herd mentality. Your friends are doing MBA, so you'll end up doing so. I got into that, and then I did my masters. When I passed out, the dot-com burst had just happened, and the economy was in its regular cyclical form of going down, and then a period of time. So I started my initial part of my career was in consulting company in a search firm. So it gave me by luck I got into recruiting and I liked it. And whoever who starts in recruiting, I would always ask them to start in a consulting company because you understand the dynamics of how things are done, right? With hands-on approach, and then that's where it is. And then I moved into larger technology companies, consulting companies, heading talent acquisition. So it's been a very interesting ride. I love the space where I am in talent acquisition because I feel all the output is very tangible. It's like a sales oriented role, right? Your
Yeah.
targets and you know what you need to achieve. So, the tangible outputs of it really helps me to take my career to the next step. So, very interesting space. I love it.
Mhm.
And, it's ever changing, right?
Yeah.
Every downturn or upturn, there's always a challenge, right? So, you always
Yeah.
have challenge irrespective of whatever the market scenario. So, a very interesting space to be in.
And
That's
I
where I
think it
am.
became more interesting after this COVID. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. So the good part is in COVID, it made us think of how to optimize our own resources. Secondly, is are you ready for online? You've been talking
mm,
about it for since ages, right?
mm.
And suddenly got into saying, hey, everything is now virtual, right? So very interesting. So
Okay. Thank you, Aditya, for the quick peek into your journey. So, Prakash, a few words about your journey from childhood to becoming a talent acquisition expert. Over to you,
Yeah,
Prakash.
yeah. Thank you so much, Sarabjit. Talking about my background, I am coming from Odisha. My father is a teacher, my brother is a banker, and we are a small family of four people currently. So I am staying born and brought up at Odisha. My schooling in Balangir, Bhubaneswar, etc. Then I came for the graduation for in Odisha only. Then after I have worked with some banks like State Bank of India, etc. Then I thought of doing an MBA from a good school. Then I have done my MBA from Xavier in HR. So talking rightly said by Aditya, like I like talent acquisition, like the sales. What I believe that it's strongly like the number is quantifiable here. So I love sales in the starting part of my career when working for the State Bank. I was into the sales only and selling loan. Like the product of the banks is loans, right? So we are selling loans there. So past that, when I've done my MBA in HR, so talent acquisition is like my choice of the sides. Like starting from the career only, I am doing the hiring. Started with a startup, manufacturing startup, then with the Bajaj Finserv, hiring for the Pan India for different sales and business loans, and currently
Mm,
heading a team of 14 people in Ujjivan Small Finance Bank. So we are basically into the micro loans and the business loans and talking about some vehicle loans and all the part of the branch banking and microfinance also. So it's a great
mm,
journey, Sharbujit. Currently starting like my entire career is into the banking actually, like starting with the top bank like SBI and with the NBFC Bajaj, then currently with the small finance bank. So the entire career is into the banking. So yeah, that's about me. We can.
okay. Okay. Great. Great to have you, Prakash. So, start off the main question. So, we'll start with Aditya first, and then we'll go to Prakash. So, Aditya, what are some tips for companies to craft compelling narratives to attract top talent? What do you think? Like, so a lot of things have changed, as you told. Like, as we
yeah,
go in every upturn, downturn, everything changes. Then there was COVID, and everything went haywire. So, the narratives have changed completely. So, what people
correct.
were pitching 5 years back or 3 years back or 2 years back will be valid right now. So what are your thoughts on this? Like how to come craft them compelling?
Yeah, so as you said, it really depends on the organization. So every organization has a different selling point, right? So the employee value proposition is something it has to be unique about the organization, right? A larger organization is something very unique as compared to another organization. So first is to have the right EVP in place from an organization perspective, saying
Hmm.
what do we offer from a candidate perspective, because today's candidate wants to know everything, and there is information on Glassdoor, Google reviews, everything about the organization. So they're looking at, they would want to work in organizations which are up front of what will they get in working in these kind of organizations. The employee value proposition, more flexibility is something which people are looking at from a work standpoint, right? As you and I were speaking before we started, you said right now you are in Cal, right? And then you might go back to your workspace in due course of time. And that's what organizations are, people are also looking at. Don't give me 100% flexibility, but give me flexibility as and when I require or required, right? Your hybrid is a good way of doing it. But now I'm sure all of us are reading a lot of organizations telling people to come back. But flexibility in the right way from an organization perspective is also a very key important aspect what candidates would look at, right? Learning opportunities, right? Learning is the only constant thing which is very important for us from a individual standpoint. How do we sell it to a candidate, right? Of how do you enable these people, right? Learning are in two parts. One part is your immediate learning to do your current job, and second is futuristic learning, is your executive courses and all that. What organizations bring to the table, what is it for them? So learning is another big thing. uh, and reverse it in a way of saying that uh, are there employee statements which talk about how the organization invested in them, right? you would only stay in an organization if the organization would want to invest in you. And so, that is one important part. And, cast a wider net is from an organization perspective, right? Don't look at, the same set of people where you've been hiring, right? IND actually means inclusion and diversity, not only one particular aspect, but across, right? Why is consistently everybody looking at the same set of pool, right? Look at other areas, look at other places where you can invest in people, hire them, look at all of that, right? Because throw away the shackles is what I tell organizations, right? Of saying that, it becomes, then otherwise you always, have your blinkers on and you're running like a horse in one direction, right? So that's a challenge with organization. And the last part is, the culture of the organization, right? The culture of the organization is very important for anybody to make a judgment of whether they want to be a part of it or not, because culture is like a DNA of an organization. The way people behave, the way they would want to be, if it marries into your DNA, more than happy for people to go ahead and join the organization. So these are important things, leaving out the materialistic things from the other perspective, which is comp and other lot of other things. But I think these are things now becoming important, right? And one last part is also for the newer generation which is coming in is, if I'm doing a work, what's the outcome of it, right? Does it solve anything? What does the organization stand for? What's the mission, vision? What is it for them? So that's also becoming now a very important part from a organization perspective. Correct.
Yes, yeah. Completely agree on the second point which you told, that you can take people from anywhere and train them. I think that they're like, it's a moving to a skill based economy, and then people,
Correct.
maybe from a biotech guy. My friend is a biotech engineer. He works for Microsoft as a software developer for like 10 years down the line. So kind of people can be trained in different things, and I think that is one of the things which has changed in the last 2-3 years down the line. I think maybe lot of emphasis on skills has been there. Thank you, Aditya, for your insights. Prakash, so what are your thoughts on tips for companies to craft compelling narratives to attract top talent? And as you have been working in the banking sector, which is ever expanding, like they
Yes.
have a lot of new things coming up, new products which they are launching, new fintechs are also tying up, and it needs a lot of talent, which is also very new age, not the normal talent. They need a lot of tech talent also, I think, right now, banks. So what are your thoughts on this, like how to like craft compelling narratives to attract the top talent to join banks?
So see, Sarabjit, like talking about this banking and finance industry, like it is like growing like anything in India. If you talk about the Indian banks, like close to, we are having more than 12 small finance bank, close to more than 30 bank on the part of private sector. There are some foreign banks also, they got the license and all, right? So for the banking industry, if you talk about the attrition of the banks currently at the time of annualized, it is close to 30%. So attracting a top talent for the companies, that is a top task for the banks currently, because the attrition in the infant, if you talk about the infant attrition, it is close to 15%. Average infant attrition is 15%. So for the companies like small banks or the banks who are in the private sector, who are mainly into the sales of the banking products, so I believe that the first thing, what do you think, that you should know your audience first. What is the right set of audience you are targeting, right? Talking about a small, like if you are talking about a sales manager, you should reach to the people. What is your target audience? Like, that the people, whether the candidate is doing the sales or the candidate is into the operation part, you have to set the right target, the right set of audience who are fitted to the job roles, number one, right? Secondly, like fitting into the job roles will not help you to get into the candidates, retain the talent, or attract the talent. What uniqueness you are bringing to the table, right? If you talk about the banks like ICICI, Axis, HDFC, small finance bank like Ujjivan, AU Small Finance Bank, these are the top player in the bank. So what uniqueness you are bringing to the table, which will help you to attract the top talent? Like talking about like the banks, what I am working for currently, we are having a good initiatives of ESOPs, employee stock option plan. So that is for every banks everywhere. But what is uniqueness to the bank? We are giving ESOPs starting from the driver till the MD. So the driver of the bank is also having the ESOPs, right? So people should know that the company will value my work here, apart from the what Aditya rightly said about the right, that will be competitive only. Apart from that, what is the uniqueness you are bringing to the table? Like ESOP plans you are having, like are you having any good plan which is not in the competitive bank? So you have to attract the talent according to your ESOPs, according to the unique value what you can bring to the table, right? Third thing I will say, that how you are showcasing your brand and culture to the people, right? To attract the top talent, apart from the offered compensation what you are giving, what is the value you are giving, what is the culture you are showing to the people, to the talent, to get into the bank, to get into your industry who are in the sales part. Like when we are approaching candidate from the ICICI Access, I'm from a small finance bank. So getting into them, so we have to give them some extra in terms of like culture or value, so that they can come to the bank and they can work for a longer period of time. So talking about what is the reward recognition program you are having currently apart from the others? What is the lucrative incentive structure you are having, so that people can come and work for a longer time, right? Talking about we are like a very when we talk about different program on the part of showcasing the brand and culture, I will believe that we are having a Pratishtha initiative. So talking about the Pratishtha initiative, we are having a bell in the center of the office, right? You can struck the bell if there is some achievement or if there is some like milestone achieved, right? So striking the bell will not, like it's a very weak culture we are having. But when you are like celebrating the small milestone with the people, then this showcase your culture, right? So you can showcase the culture in terms of when you are attracting talent, they will, apart from the offered compensation, you have to sell your culture to them so that they can feel welcomed to the bank, right? So these are the points. Apart from that, we can see that showcasing your brand or culture, and after from them, you can, if you are giving a good compensation and lucrative incentive structure, that will also help. So these are the points in the banking industry which will help you to showcase to retain the talent or attract the top talent in the industry in the banking. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Great pointers, Prakash and Aditya on this. So, Prakash, continuing with you, how can talent acquisition teams ensure that new talent, new hires, they fit well into the company culture? Because when you are getting top talent, there is a possibility that it takes a lot of blood, sweat, and phone calls to get top talent in the industry, right? So, how can you ensure that new hires they fit well into the company culture? So Prakash, will start with you on this.
Yeah. So here my question will be that whether you are communicating your culture to the candidate well, that is the first thing. Whether the culture is defined for your company, and whether the TA team is rightly communicating the culture to the company, to the people to whom you are hiring, right? So communicating the culture, I think that that is not on the part of how you are communicating. Talking about if I will give you an example, right? In the microfinance industry, there is a position of CRO, customer relationship officer, right? So what we are doing to giving them exposure, we are asking them to come to the any of the branch of the Ujjivan Pan India, right? Currently where we are working, and ask them to get into the roles for a day one, right? That is for the sales. That is not we can do for the ITs. And I'm talking about the banking industry. What we are doing, that giving them exposure visit on day one, whether they are feeling comfortable with the job role or not. Apart from the 3 round of interview, whether you are communicating the culture to them in terms of work, it's not about to tell them the culture, it's about defining the culture in the workspace, right? Giving them exposure visit in the day one, whether they are actually aligned to the system or not, number one. Secondly, I can say that when you are hiring the people like for the culture, for the cultural fit, you can ask at the time of onboarding that give me one best practices in the last organization that are having currently, right? Write one best practice in the culture in your organization, last organization, whether you are from where you are coming, right? That will feel them inclusive, that the TA team is asking me, so that we can implant some good culture in the organization. So that can feel them inclusive in terms of good feedback, giving them on the part of what is the best practice in the organization. Thirdly, you can see there is good feedback system when someone is to some you are onboarding or for the cultural fit, that you have to a proper feedback mechanism, right? The feedback for the new joinings, like whether you can 15, 30, 40, it can be 30, 60, 90, anything you are doing, right? So you should ensure that the new hire it get fit into the culture through the proper feedback mechanism. It's like the feedback mechanism is everywhere, but the question is how you are tracking the data, right? How you are tracking the data, whether he is feeling comfortable in the role or not in the first month, whether he needs change of the location, whether he needs any other data from the HR, whether he needs any help from the HR. So we need to check whether these things are properly taken care of not, so that people will feel welcomed in terms of culture, right? We have to communicate the culture well, what I say. Yeah.
Okay, so communication and feedback loops are the main key. What you
Definitely,
are saying.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Aditya, coming to you.
Yeah.
So how can TA teams and HR teams ensure that this new critical new hires they fit well into the company culture and be productive like
Yeah.
throughout?
Culture is like, as I said, is like a DNA or a bloodline of an organization that defines the individual, as what Prakash
Mm.
also said. So, one is obviously to identify what does your organization stand for and making sure you have the right talent in, right?
Mm.
From a very talent acquisition perspective, you will know companies who have a similar work culture, and so identifying only those set of organization where you want to get in people, but secondly also identifying and telling these people the kind of culture what we bring to the table, right? At what Prakash gave a good example of people getting a feeler. In technology, you can also do a walkthrough about saying in a working day for a technologist in an organization, right? What's the kind of culture? What do they stand for? What are their goals and everything from a vision standpoint? Does it involve into when you do assessment? Does the organization culture evolve into the individual culture, right? Does it align to each other, right? To some extent, it's very important for when we do an assessment from an organization perspective. Luckily, there are some tools and technologies now. There is one tool which uses gaming as a technology to assess the
Mm.
culture fit from an individual standpoint. So there is technology which can be enabled from to looking at a culture fitment standpoint. The
Mm.
code of ethics and code of conduct also somewhere identifies and helps us understand what the organizations bring, right? My recommendation is always having the employees speak about the organization and putting it across to candidate of saying that if you work with us, this is the kind of people whom you will be working with. So what's the kind of people they would be working in, what's the kind of culture they would be fitting in from an organization perspective, right? So, and obviously, what does the brand stand for, right?
Mm.
What do you reinforce? What do you sell as a product? Does it sync with the individual? So there has to be, a fine assessment when it comes from a culture perspective. Because, see, hard skills or technology skills is everybody is similar. You want to hire people who can stay in the organization for a longer period of time, right? And they will stay in if they are happy with the organization, right? Because a lot of other things can be you can be upskilled and a lot of other things, but if your core DNA is very different from the core DNA of the organization, it becomes a challenge.
Exactly.
So those are my
Exactly.
inputs. Yeah.
Great, great. I completely understand, and I think the inputs which we are sharing here will be a lot of benefits for all the folks who are listening and or will listen to this in the next few days. So, moving on to the next question. Aditya, continuing
Yeah.
with you, if you were building an AI-based talent acquisition software, okay.
Yeah.
So, what are the top five features would you focus on and why?
So this is a very interesting topic, and every organization setup has a very different requirement when it comes to it needs to customize. So if you're a large scale organization, your
Mm.
issue is a lot of supply coming in, right?
Mm.
So you need help there, right? So you need to see where AI fits into solutioning what. When it comes to product companies, it's more towards where do you find the talent, right? Both are in a very reverse angle, right? So it really depends on the organization. But if I basically construct, one is important to have a chatbot in place on basically which talks to a candidate from a candidate experience perspective, saying where is your candidate,
Mm.
what's the kind of roles, where is it stuck, how can you prepare. There are a lot of things because recruiter may not be available at that period of time, right? So
Okay.
someone who could resolve some of those basic queries at a faster period of time from a chatbot perspective, that's very important. Automated communication which talks about where are you, what's happening, read more about the organization, this is the culture,
Mm.
this is where it brings. So a lot of automated curated information about the organization will play a more important part. Predictive analytics plays another big part of saying that on where are we from an organization perspective. I'll give you an example. So if you look at sales company and large scale FMCG company, they used to talk in batches, right? I've hired this guy from this IM, this batch, and this will be a right fit, right? Because they've been trained in a way to hire people. Now organizations are slowly getting away from this to a more of a skill based hiring of saying that we need the right fit. Education may not be so important, right? We need someone who
Mm,
could do this job, as simple as
mm,
that.
mm,
So bringing predictive analytics to saying that, okay, someone with this experience, maybe working in another company, this and that, and will give you an ideal candidate scenario, and then you can see where it is. Secondly, it also helps you break down the funnel of saying where are you leaking from an organization, sort of from a talent acquisition pipeline perspective. Where is the leakage? What's the kind of issues which you can address? Which are the areas which you have not tapped upon? Right, those are the other things which you can build upon. And the last one is social media, right?
mm.
Which plays a huge part on from an organization perspective on saying that have you cast in the web of where your talent pool lies? How have you reached out to them? Are you reaching out to the passive candidates? Are you reaching out to the to the active candidates? How are you reaching out to this target pool? So it really depends. But yeah, social media obviously plays an important part, and AdWords in a very different way plays an important part. So all of these parts will play a huge this thing. But as I said, it depends from a company to company. What are you trying to solve, right? It depends on from that. But it will
Okay.
play and it will enable recruiters and recruiting folks should look at how AI enables them to do their work better and smarter is my
Mm.
my thought process.
Exactly. So that they can focus more on the most critical part, which is
Yeah,
engagement of
because see,
candidates.
redundancy, some of them, some of their work
Mm.
is like as simple as that interview slot booking, right? Now
Mm.
you have tools like where you can just look at the slot from an organization perspective, go ahead and slot it. You don't need someone to call you and fix up, right, Sarab? You have tools. So how do
Uh,
use all of this so that you don't do this non-critical work and you do a little more value-added work from an
exactly,
organization?
exactly. So we have our scheduler which sends a automated link to both the candidates and the recruiters, and they can
Yeah,
uh,
and even in
see the
LinkedIn, if
free
you open,
slots.
you see, right, you
Uh,
can book my slot as an individual, right? If you want to reach out, there's a
ha,
slot
ha.
open, you just click on it and both agree, and then you don't need someone to call, right? So,
Yes, and I agree with the automated emailer thing. That also works with the very very personalized emailer which we send. Actually,
correct,
it increase the open rate. So a
correct.
lot of companies use this for product. So great pointers, Aditya. And moving on to Prakash. Prakash, what are your thoughts if you are building a AI based talent acquisition software? What five top features would you focus on and why? Uh,
Definitely. So, talking about, as rightly said by Aditya, like for the system, definitely that should be a system. Like system should approve that fast. For my banking, what I'm talking about with the banking industry, we are doing bulk hiring, right?
hmm,
At the screening level, we face challenges in terms of screening the candidate as well. So, for if I will talk about the AI based software, I will say definitely that understanding the resume, right? Understanding the
hmm,
resume in terms of like skills, so that AI can rank them as per the skills, right? Understanding the resume is the first point where we can see that at least from that software we can get a help of ranking the candidate in terms of skills and capabilities what they are having. Because when we are talking about the bulk hiring in the sales in the banking sector, there are multiple CVs we get, like we screen and we like offer every day. So for the bulk hiring, understanding the resume give me a, like if the AI will help me in terms of getting them ranked in terms of the skills capacities, that will help me as a banker, right? As a talent acquisition banker. Talking about the second point, if like we can use AI in terms of writing the JD as well, like writing the JD in, it's not about the writing the JD, writing the JD in an engaging way which can attract the candidate, right? When we're talking about writing the JD in an engaging way, if I'm hiring a sales manager, whether we can
hmm,
get it posted through a video, right? So whether if I'm hiring a like credit manager, whether I can show that some through the some case study, right? Some video writing, some story writing. So all these things we can, if we can include in terms of writing the JD, so that can helps us to get the quality of candidates, because the banks are currently focusing on hiring quality candidates because the attrition rate is there, and if you can use that for writing JDs, that can be help. Thirdly, in
Hmm.
terms of sourcing and screening, like that will be
Hmm.
a big help for the AI. Like we are many softwares, many like vendors are working on that part to sourcing and screening the candidates. I talk about understanding the resume first, then I'm talking about the sourcing and screening. When I'm talking about sourcing and screening, it's not about only in terms of what the data you are having, right? What you are like about only about the skills and capabilities. It should also include the data and analytics of the the resume, right? What is the number of like whether he has mentioned some numbers there, whether he has achieved something
Hmm.
in the last company, whether he is getting recognized in terms of like exceeding the sales number, right?
Hmm.
All this if you can track like for the sourcing and screening for the initial level, right? I'm talking about the initial level only, so that it can help in terms of bulk hiring and in terms of when we are talking about specific skills. So as also Aditya rightly mentioned, it's helping in the part of interview, but yes, definitely, and we can like if AI can helps us to conducting interview in different language, right? When we are hiring the pan India for all the states, like 26 states and 26 language, I can say if the AI can do the work for us to getting into the language part, where the initial screening we can do, like the initial call will be from the auto generated AI, what we are doing also currently, right? If that can be language based, because many vendors are working on that, but that is still like we are lacking on that part to doing the like fast level of interview through the different language. So we can improve on that line also. And we can see like we can use AI in terms of like pre-onboarding engaging also, right? Engaging candidate in the pre-onboarding prior to joining. If like automated mail system is there, but we can do something specific in terms of like candidate wise and candidate preference wise prior to the joining. So if we can use that in the part of pre-onboarding as well. So that will be my
Okay.
say. And we can like there are various things we can use AI, but definitely it's in the part of early stage only, like getting into the AI
Hmm.
in the talent acquisition we are using in a daily basis on the part of normal things. But rightly when we are getting into the bulk hiring or in the like specific technology based hiring, we have
Hmm.
to develop all these things so that the AI can be useful for us, definitely.
Okay. Okay. Great pointers. Some of the pointers we are already doing, so I completely understand. Okay. So we go on to the next part, guys. So this part is known as the audience questions. We'll have a lot of audience questions. We had a lot of audience questions. A couple of questions I have picked up from there, and anybody can answer, or both of you can answer. So I'll ask the first question. Raksha from Pune asks, "What's one key piece of advice for young TA professionals?" One key piece of advice which you think the most important.
Prakash, go ahead. Then I
Yeah,
will
sure.
answer after.
Thank you. So talking about like key piece of advice, I will give my youth my 8 years of experience. I will say that when you are giving like when you are working, when you are approaching the candidates, right? So when you're approaching the candidates, you should know your business. What I believe that if you are into the HR and if you don't know the business, then you cannot support the business. So you should know the numbers of the business. If you are talking about the banking industry, you should know how the business works, right? If you are talking about the credit microfinance, you should know the what is the business and what is the number they are actually achieving, right? So you should know the business first to getting into the like attracting the right kind of talent. Number one, I will say you have to know the business. Secondly, I will say that you should know like when you are talking about it's rightly said, we have discussed earlier also, we are as a talent acquisition professionals, we are the sales professionals, right? We are selling our company to the people to attract the top talent. So talking about selling the like selling the brand, you should feel that you are selling your own brand because you are giving your time here, right? It's not about if I am starting my own company, that's a different thing. If I'm working for a company and if I'm giving my time and if I'm getting paid for the time, right, then I should sell my company as its own product only. If I'm talking about my bank, I should sell to the candidate that this is the best bank you're working for, you will work for, right? And this is the best bank where you will get all the culture what you're looking for. So when you are talking to the candidates, then you should sell your own brand like this is your own company. If you are not selling on that attitude, then people will not come because this is a competitive market with candidates having various offer in hands, right? So first get into the things of selling your own brand, number one. Secondly, getting into the business, you should know the business. It's not about getting CVs through LinkedIn, Naukri, or anywhere from the consultant. You should know the business, right? And you should get into the business, whether what their mission, what is the target for the March 2025. You should know all these things so that you can help business in terms of numbers, and they will feel that this talent acquisition guy will help some productive things for like he will help me in the productive way, right? So that is the two things I will say,
Mm.
that you should, as a talent
Okay.
acquisition young professional, you should have your own business, and number two, you should sell your own brand. That is the thing, sir. Yeah.
Okay. 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 So, Aditya, your thoughts on this?
Yeah.
What's one
So
key?
yeah. So one one key thing is you need to be a consistent learner, Sarab. I think so because this is the only part in HR which moves
Mm.
faster than the other sub functions of HR, right? And it has a direct impact on business, right? Your top line, bottom line. It's called out in all the big meetings. Every you walk into public listing, everything is put up there already from an organization. So you need to be a constant learner, I feel, because recruiting is evolving at a much faster pace. And if you keep on doing recruiting the old way, you will not find a solution. So, you need to be a consistent, be ready, irrespective of the experience. I'm not talking from a junior, I'm talking from anybody who's a TA head to a person who's a recruiter. They need to constantly evolve. If they don't, in due course of time, they will be moved away from a organization. So be a constant and consistent learner. I think so. Rest all things will, fall into place from an individual standpoint. So,
Great. Great. So, moving on to the next one, Asim from Mumbai asks, "What's the biggest challenge you face when trying to find the right people for a job?"
uh,
You can answer.
I faced so there are a couple of situations we have faced is one is talent pool, right, and
Mm.
I'm sure is the most used and abused word from tech, at least in tech space, right, and everybody says this much is the talent pool and this is where we are. I think that's
Mm.
a challenge. We should accept the challenge, but then we should see how do we solution it in another way, right? You should understand your organization's limitation of saying where we are, have a very straightforward conversation with the business of saying what we can attract and what is there, then break down the solutioning into saying that this is what we will hire from market, this is what we will train, and this is what we will do. Because just going back consistently, going back to a
Mm.
market and then expect, or as there's a book called Blue Ocean Strategy, just start fishing in another place, right? Not only looking at one place. People need to evolve, and I think that's the challenge in talent acquisition, right? They are not evolving, Sarab. And the
Mm.
challenge is they're looking at the same place because everybody is looking at the same place. You need to
Yes.
evolve and say, hey, you know what? While I'll get some of it from here, I need to have some other places because, and you need to have a very straightforward conversation that,
Mm.
and it has to be a data driven. It can't be that,
Yeah.
I feel, right? It need to be market intelligence of saying that this is where the talent pool lies, this is where it is, this is what we can attract, this is what we can train, and this is how we move forward. So there are a lot of issues all of us face from a talent acquisition perspective, and every problem is unique, but it is how you come back with a solutioning mindset is very important.
Great. Prakash, you want to add something on this? What's the biggest challenge when you try to find the right people?
Rightly said by Aditya, like the getting the right kind of talent for the right position is extremely difficult currently because of the growing competitiveness in the industry, right?
Mm.
Number one thing, I feel, what I believe, that like talking about the biggest challenge, I feel that it is like engaging with the qualified candidates, right? When you are approaching the passive candidates, like currently if you are working for a role like in the level of like mid-level role, right? And when you are like giving them an offer currently, and engaging with the passive candidate is little difficult because there is a like high risk of offer to dropout ratio there, because of the candidate is having multiple offers, right? Currently if you are properly skilled and you are having 2 3 offers, and engaging with the offered candidates, like right kind of passive
Mm.
candidates, is extremely difficult for the people because there are more dropouts. So whether at that time, what you can do, that you have to sell what is the uniqueness you are bringing to the table instead of what job you are giving to them, right? It's not about what is about the
Mm.
job role you are talking to them, whether they are like comfortable for the job or not. You should like start engaging them with some interesting about the companies, what is the thing like in the table when they are joining, or what is the thing like you are bringing to their table when the time of like when you are onboarding them, what is the uniqueness you are bringing to the table, right? So you have to like engaging with the qualified candidates, having the offers, multiple offers, you are having some bandwidth, you are having some like salary constraint, everything there. and that is the challenge to retain the passive candidate who is like having 2 3 offers. And definitely there are
Hmm.
in the talent acquisition there are multiple challenges we faced every day in terms of getting offers of different skills, all these things. But that is the thing what I can in the current scenario, engaging with the passive candidate. Definitely, I will say that.
Okay. Okay. So, thank you guys. We move on to the next section, which is the job flex. So this is a section for job seekers or candidates. Okay, and we have one question, so both of you can answer. And so the question is how to answer why should we hire you? So anybody can go in first.
Prakash, go ahead. Your turn.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah, sure. So talking about I will say, why should we hire is the question what we are asking every day to the people, right? In the
Mm,
bank,
mm,
like when we're talking about the hiring the sales professional or the credit professional, we are asking this question every day. So one candidate
okay.
can not only like on the part of when he is giving some introduction of himself, right? It should not be about a generic introduction. It should be with proven track record of the experience what he is having or what he has done in the previous organization in terms of number. If he is having like
Mm,
some like achievement in the last quarter, if he is having some like extra miles for the job role, right? So if you are doing something extra, so you should showcase that in terms of why should I hire you, in terms of what you have done in the last organization, what the awards you have received in the last organization, and what is the great communication skill you are having. If I talk about the sales people, so he can answer like whether I am getting like good positions of communication skill. Apart from that, I am having this proven track record of the experience, and I can adapt to different situation in any time, right? All these things you should focus, you should like communicate to the recruiter that these are the things what I have done in terms of number one. Secondly,
mm,
whether how you are adaptable to the different situation, right? Whether you have worked in bank insurance sector and whether you are ready for the banking sector or not. So all these things should be specific. It should not be a generic answer. What is the uniqueness you can you have done in the resume, and you should focus that in terms of why should I hire you. Definitely.
okay. Aditya,
Yes.
your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so, as what Prakash said, I think the logic is very simple. It's like our five fingers. None of them are similar in nature, right?
Mm,
And, everybody is unique. One, it's very important if you walk into an interview, you need to know what's your peer group, right? For
mm,
saying that, okay, let's take an example. Somebody walks in for a sales role. Everybody might be an MBA. Everybody will have sales experience. Everybody will be similar. So, what is so different from you as an individual, right? What are different? So maybe you have perseverance. You have to give examples from that angle, right? You are able to,
okay.
sell anything from an organization perspective, right? So you need to build or showcase those skills which will make you unique as compared to someone else. Or creativity, how different you are from an individual standpoint. I'll give you an
Mm,
example quickly. There was, we were interviewing people and everybody walked in with the resume, right? There's one candidate who walked in and he said, yeah, I said, where's your resume? This is my link. This is my 30-second elevator pitch from my CV. Unique, right?
mm,
Different. So try it because you need to sometimes be different and unique as you walk in from an individual standpoint, but you need to showcase the skills which you bring to the table. Secondly, is which I am a big fan of researching about the company where you want to work with and seeing how does it merge into your goals. A lot of people don't do that, right? So research, understand, ask questions is also very important. I feel.
okay, great. So moving on to the next part, which is a fun round. So it's a rapid fire questions which we have prepared for Prakash and Aditya, and I'm ready with them. But who wants to go first?
No worries, Aditya.
Okay, I'll go.
Okay, Aditya. So questions coming up for you, Aditya. So if you could teleport anywhere right now, where would you go?
If I can teleport right now, I would go to Switzerland.
Okay, okay. What's the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Keep going on. You just gave up just before the. People give up before the finish line. Just don't give up.
Yes,
You just
those don't give up.
keep
Okay.
and always tell people show up. 50% of your problems will go up.
Okay, never give up. Okay, I know. Great. If you could have any animal as a pet, mythical or real, what would it be?
It's always been dogs. I'm a big fan of dogs. So, dogs has always been Labradogs, in fact. So,
Okay. Okay. What's the most interesting place you have ever visited?
most interesting place. Wow. Um, Himachal a lot because
Acha.
been there and getting into those smaller alleys and just walking through and the topography changes as you move further up, right? If you go up,
Hmm.
it keeps on changing from down to plains up. So those are places you just suddenly feel okay. I'm in a very different place. So you
Okay.
know.
Okay. So next question is very interesting. If you could only listen to one song for the rest of your life, if you could only listen to one song for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Pink Floyd, Wish You Were There.
Okay. uh, what's the most spontaneous thing you have ever done?
Oh, I'm not a spontaneous guy at all. My wife hates me for it. I think I don't know. I have not done anything spontaneous. Once a long time back, but I decided to jump into a pool fully clothed. I luckily thrown my mobile outside. So,
Okay.
but
That's not the spontaneous thing. Okay. If you could have dinner with any celebrity, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I think I would have it with Leena Nair. I'm a big fan of her. I think she does a lot of space, a lot of work on the HR space, and now she's one of few HR women to becoming the to becoming a CEO of an organization from an HR. I would love to
Hmm.
pick her brain. So that's one person I would love to meet whenever I get a chance to.
Great. So here we come to end of questions for Aditya. Aditya, thank you for being such a sport. So we'll go on to Prakash now. Prakash,
Yeah.
your first question. If you could only eat one cuisine for the rest of your life, what would it be?
So I will say dal chawal so that I can eat for a
Okay.
lifetime because I am an Odia and I love dal chawal, so I can eat that for the
Okay.
lifetime definitely,
Okay.
and that is good for health
Uh,
as well.
uh, yes, it is. Would you rather have the ability to fly or be invisible? Sorry? Would you rather have the ability to fly or be invisible? What's the first thing what you would do that you would do?
Like I did not get you. Tell me again.
So, if you have the ability to fly or be invincible, like invisible, what's the first thing you would do?
So I will fly to my hometown.
Okay. Okay. What's the weirdest job you have ever had?
Like it's checking salary of the people, right? When I am in the
Acha.
SBI, State Bank of India, so there is access of every account. So I should not say that, but I was checking different accounts at that time because I had the junior level.
Okay.
So I've done that.
Okay. If you could switch lives with any fictional character for a day, who would it be?
That will be, I will say my mother, right? I will
Okay.
say like I just
Okay.
wanted to like the amount of forgiveness, amount of like things what you have done, what she has done. Like I will say it's my mother only.
Okay. So, Prakash, what's your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
What's my favorite way to unwind?
After a long day.
So I will say it's travel only here. It's like traveling is my
Okay.
hobby. I will get a chance, then if I will get it 2 hours, I just love to drive Lonavala. Like I'm staying at
Okay.
Pune. So if I get 2 3 hours, I
Acha.
just love to travel.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you could have a dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Historical figure, then I will definitely, I will say Mahatma Gandhi. I will just try to get into how they have done this, like the freedom fighting and all. So I will say that Gandhi will be the person. What I will say that I will just try to dinner with to get into the things how they have worked for the country and all. Definitely.
Okay, so last question for Prakash. What's the most adventurous thing you have ever done?
Sorry. Again, tell me again.
Most adventurous thing you have ever done?
Most adventurous thing I have done, like not sleeping for 2 nights and
Hmm.
roaming around at the time I was student, not sleeping for 2 nights, roaming and without food as well. That is the time,
Okay.
like my traveling fantasy. I will say that I travels for a long time without food, without sleeping also.
Oh, that's nice. So, with that, we come to the end of the discussion, and it was great having you guys, Aditya and Prakash. Very good insight shared, and we'll have it shared with all of our community, the entire HR community, which we have. So, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, Aditya, and thank you, Prakash, for joining in.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarabjit. It's like indeed very great interaction. Thank you, Aditya. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Prakash.
Thank you. Take care. Have fun. Bye bye.
Take care. Thank you.